Hello everyone, it's Thursday and you're watching Within the Frame. I'm Kim Bo-kyung. Retirement. When one chapter ends, another begins. But with the life expectancy of South Koreans being 86, it means that the next chapter could last for 20 years or even more. Though this next phase is supposed to be filled with joy and relaxation, most South Korean elders look for another job so that they can put food on the table. But most of these jobs are low paying. South Korea having the highest rate of elderly poverty among OECD countries clearly shows the difficulties the elderly are facing. What has led them to work even after their retirement? And with the National Pension Service quickly running out of money, what reforms should be made to improve the quality of life for older people? As June 15 marks World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, Within the Frame would like to focus on several issues, especially the economic difficulties elders are facing, and ask experts about potential solutions. And for this, we invite Oh Jun-seok, Dean of Sookmyung Business School. Professor Oh, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Choi Han-sun, Professor of Public Administration at Myeongji University. Good to see you again, Professor Choi.
Hi, good to see you again.
All right, first question to our Professor Choi. South Korea's population is getting older and older, and that's a problem many other countries are facing as well. But Seoul seems to be seeing the demographic change much faster than elsewhere. What's behind this trend?
Maybe there are two reasons. One is our population structure has some issue, especially the baby boomer generation who were born in the 1958 and 1973, like the 15 years, this generation, they have a lot of the babies population. So they are now entered to the elderly, the age, which means in the next 15 years, we will have more elderly people because we have a very big size of the population between this cluster. Second reason, we have the lowest birth rate in the world, which means our total population is now stuck and shrinking. So, which means we have more elderly and we have no more babies, which is the structure is very bad.
Right, I see. Those are the reasons. Now, Professor Oh, an aging society means a shrinking workforce population aged between 15 to 64. Now, what economic impact will this have?
No wonder it will negatively affect the Korean economy, losing momentum of economic growth in the respect that shrinking workforce implies a shrinking market and innovation capability while amplifying operational cost of social infrastructure. Let's imagine a situation. There is a gigantic baseball park, but a few players, few teams, with a few crowds in the stadium. Korea has been aging fast, especially since 2000, when it officially became an aging society. As Professor Choi commented, Korea is widely expected to become a super aged society in 2025. There's a little chance that the working population can rebound as the number of people under the age of 15 keeps decreasing. This is a warning sign. Korea may face an age quake. It seems like an earthquake, like a demographic shock from a fall in population and rapid aging starting in 2030 if it does not promptly tackle the issue. Let's go back to baseball park situation. How to keep going on Major League, how to get a ballpark crowd in the grandstand. A brain game and the super game events will be the answer. The G7 countries, including US and Germany, also face similar concerns. And as part of a solution, they are turning to immigration policies for a breakthrough. I suppose it is time Korea should also turn strategically to immigrations to tackle the population decline and working on creating a multicultural society, accommodating heterogeneity, more foreign brains and workers in the industry to prevent the economy from losing steam. Canada, for example, where immigrants account for up to 20% of its entire population. It might be a good example, and we should put the puzzle of policy together to complete the big picture.
Right, I see. Now, though our Professor briefly talked about the solutions, possible solutions that is, I'd like to ask more deeper to our Professor Che. Now, having more babies is, of course, an obvious solution, but given that South Korea is seeing its lowest fertility rate ever, as you have already talked about, we need to think of other options as well, right? What are other ways to tackle these?
There are not many options, I think, but probably we should try something. But I agree with the Professor Oh's opinion about immigration, which means that we need more immigration, but maybe we can have probably more maybe working force. Also, another way in the short term, maybe we change the retirement age, which means now we are retired 60 and 65 something, but it changed like 60 to 65 or 65 to 70. Then we will have a more working force. But it is maybe some social cost we should pay.
Right, I see. Now, a rapidly aging society poses many risks, and up until now, we have mainly talked about shrinking workforce population. Why don't we tap on the Korea's high elderly poverty rate, which reached 40.4% as of 2020, and this is the highest among OECD members. Many say the figure is due to lack of preparation. Why is Seoul seeing such a high rate, Professor Oh?
Korea became an aged society in 2017, and the country is widely expected to become a super aged society in 2025, when the percentage of the elderly will top 20%. Korea's average life expectancy came to 86 years in 2021, compared with 72 years in 1991. While Korean economy has been running fast, growing fast, they have no preparation in the future, but only to focus on winning the race. Korea's elderly people had run the race like a sprinter, not knowing the race itself was a marathon. Can they win the marathon by sprinting? No. The race was much, much longer than expected when the runner became elderly. As a result, as you commented, 40.4% of elderly poverty rate, the highest among OECD member nations. Amid this kind of rapid aging, more elderly people are grappling with economic hardships as they find it difficult to land quality jobs after retirement and to live solely on pension. The poverty issue among senior citizens could worsen as the rate of people aged 65 and older is expected to reach 46.4% in 2070 from last year's just 7.5%. Relative poverty rate refers to the percentage of people living with an income below 50 of the median income. In 2020, the monthly median income of an employee in Korea came to roughly US $2,000 monthly. The country's relative poverty rate among the age bracket also came to 38.9%, which refers to the percentage of people living with an income below 50 of the median income. With an effort to expand the social security net, preparing for the medical expenses and senior life, the relative poverty rate of Korea's senior citizens have been on the decline, but is still high. Now is the time for the society to reshape the social security net. I also agree, Professor Che, rescheduling this kind of social plan, but also for the working generation to review the economic plan with much longer life expectancy afterwards.
Right, I see. Now, as our Professor Oh pointed out, many people sprinted instead of doing a marathon, and therefore they are now forced to continue to work well past the retirement age. Now, what's worse is that they are mostly forced to work on low-income jobs. How serious is this, Professor Oh?
Medical science and living condition improve in general. Life expectancy on the rise. It is kind of luck. Korea is no exception. But the combination of a longer life expectancy and a low birth rate is translating to a continued increase in the ratio of the elderly. population of the elderly jumped to 9.5 million in 2023. Even if the life expectancy is set to rise further, it seems more difficult to reach a consensus on the distribution of social resources to the elderly qualified to receive social and welfare benefits. Korean economy is entangled with such sticky political issues as worsening poverty among the elderly, rapid demographic change, and a widening welfare gap. All these require fundamental social, economic structural change, which take time, and which force the elderly to abandon low-paying jobs from hand to mouth. Politicians do not care about market impact or sustainability in an economy. They do care for sprouting populism without obligation. Just raising the age of eligibility for a seniorship could just buy time to deal with their worsening welfare-related budget problems or shore up the embattled national pension system. What we need now is a smart action. Letting an unstable, low-paying job drive them to social isolation, which will be worsened to social death and further lonely death eventually. No other words better describe the lives of jobless and homeless in their 50s and 60s in Korea. It is a fact. We have to face the fact. More than 1.5 million Koreans are at stake of lonely death, account for 3% of all the country population. Korea should follow in the footsteps of the UK and Japan, which have introduced a cabinet portfolio exclusively responsible for loneliness, locality, and healthcare facilities. It's time to pay attention to that.
Right, I see. So overall change to social security system is very necessary right now. Professor Che, as elderly people mostly take on low-income jobs, the national pension they receive has become much more important. However, South Korea's National Pension Service is forecast to run out of money in 2055 if the current pension structure is maintained. Now, as far as I know, changes were made to the pension system in 1998 and 2007. What were the changes and why has the issue not been touched upon since then?
I think that when we had the reform of the National Pension Service, when you had the IMF, something like we have an emergency, we could make some reform. But nobody like to change this national service, the pension reform, because it is not popular, and then the politician doesn't, they matter about elections, so it is very hard to change. But in the long term, maybe we might have some run out in the very soon, so we must change our system. But the reform, we had already the deal out about between the 2013 to the 2030. We have retirement age, pension age will be the 60 to the 65, which is maybe good way of the some breakdown, but we need more. So I think the maybe current administration be a lot about this change and should do something.
Right. Now, Professor Che, one more question. It is good to hear that Yoon administration is expected to announce pension reforms later this year, but how should it be, in your opinion?
I fully cheer up maybe Yoon administration if the Yoon administration make their big effort for this reform, because it is unpopular work, but it need for our future generation. So I think when the President Yoon addressed about this is a really important issue, and our government should deal with that. Okay, so maybe next year is the big year about this national pension service issue, and which is related about the elderly people and the many population who will be in the pension age. So I think that the government should work hard, and even though just a little time they become unpopular. Maybe you can see the case of the pranks and many other cases, but it should be done. So I really support any effort from the Yoon administration.
Right. So change to pension system should be made for our future generations indeed. Now, Professor O, as the age at which a person is entitled to get a pension continues to be pushed back, some point out that the retirement age should be extended to eliminate the so-called the income crevice, the period between a worker's retirement and the start of a retiree receiving national pension payments at 63. Now, how are other countries dealing with this issue, and how should it be in South Korea?
I fully agree with Professor Choi. It is time to take a right decision, even though it is far from popularity. The administration have to pay attention to other countries' case. The elderly poverty rate of Korea reached 43.4% in 2018, 3 times higher than the OECD average of 14.8%. Considering the nation's current public pension age is 62, as Professor Choi commented, Korean retirees in their late 50s and early 60s are faced with a mounting financial burden, mainly due to responsibility of caring for their children and parents. At the same time, they have resorted to seeking a low-paid temporary part-time job, largely due to a protracted period without an income before reaching their public pension age of 62. A pyramid, so-called income crevice, as you commented. Employees retired between age of 55 and 59 account for 20.4%, while those who retired at the age of 60 or older stood at just 7.2%. Major countries are grappling with similar problems, and then they also do the same steps to take for the pension plan reshuffling. In case of Japan, a super-aged society may serve as a model for Korea. In 2013, Japan revised the law to keep older workers in the labor market until 65. The law calls for recurring companies to choose one of 3 options: extension or abolition of the retirement age, or rehiring temporary workers. Japan now seeks to raise the retirement age to 70 from 65. Germany also plans to raise it to 67 from 65 by 2029. This kind of action, even the United States and Britain abolished the retirement age. There is no retirement age. If the income crevice prolonged due to lack of quality jobs as well as insufficient pre-retirement financial preparation, it will exacerbate the nation's chronic poverty among the older generation. In this sense, other than the reshuffling pension plan, we have to think about the extension or abolition of retirement age also.
Right, I see. Now, Professor O, up until now, we have been talking about extending or abolishing the retirement age or making changes to the pension system. But how about giving better quality jobs for the elderly? I mean, are there any ways to ensure they get better and well-paying jobs?
It's very hard to answer, but no wonder we should raise the quality of life by restoring the value of a community, expand the leisure, and keep a balance between work and life. In this sense, to alleviate the elderly poverty and to increase the quality of life, more than anything else, a multi-layered retirement income security system. We have only one solution, just a pension. But other than pension, insurance system, and other types of social security net should be established. Even if the nation pension system matures, the existing wide gaps cannot be resolved. And secondly, seniority-oriented wage system should also be reorganized into the job-based wage system. Now it is a time-based wage system. So we have to reorganize this kind of wage system, and it is needed for wage structure transition reform to reduce unfair wage dispersion. And lastly, I'd like to add is that to minimize unemployment and maintain re-employment job quality, government have to pay attention to advanced vocational skill development for the elderly, which means expanding programs tailored to elder people to get a quality life.
Right. Many changes should be made, apparently. Now, Professor Che, I'd like to ask many more questions, but because we are running out of time, I believe this would be our last one. Elderly people face many other issues as well, and though the number of senior citizens keep going up, media outlets have pointed out that there isn't much infrastructure, such as public care facilities. How should this be improved?
I think you are right, because 10% of our elderly who is over 65 have Alzheimer disease, which is they need service about many diseases and many things. So they need maybe healthcare infrastructure, maybe other kind of social welfare infrastructure. But it's related with the tax or the budget of the government. But I'm afraid now the administration has many tax cut, which means we will have maybe low the revenue. But we need more money for this kind of the infrastructures building, which means need a lot of the budget. So I'm not sure about the administration priority of the budget, but I think it is very critical time. We must invest, because it takes time. Invest about infrastructure, and we will prepare the increase of the rapid increase of the elderly. If not, there is a big problem in the future.
Right, I cannot agree more. Now, I mean, as we all grow old, I hope to see a society where the elderly can happily work and rest. Well, unfortunately, this is all the time we have for today's edition. But thank you, Professor Oh and Professor Che, for your insights. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's all for Within the Frame tonight. We'll be back tomorrow with more in-depth stories. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.